Now, Premier League has the largest number of fans in India. Manchester United, the biggest draw. And not just because of Cristiano Ronaldo, I have with me one of the biggest Premier League fans who's also the brand ambassador of the league in India, working to become a bridge between the league and the footballing talents who wants to reach the Premier League stage. Thank you very much, Ranveer, for joining me on the broadcast. Now, the first question that I've asked you, Ranveer, is you stepped into Kapil Dev's shoes for the film 83, and then there's also a Premier League fan in you. Which of the two Ranveers is the real Ranveer?
That's a really good question, ma'am. I could not answer that for you for the life of me. I think my entire journey of life is merely an exploration of who I am. And sometimes I think to myself, who am I really? I honestly would not know. So I honestly do not have an answer to your question. Who is the real Ranveer Singh? Oh, if I only knew.
But I believe there are some other answers that you may have to my questions. Tell us about your footballing journey. When was the first time you fell in love with the sport?
I think I fell in love with the sport ever since I started playing it as a kid. I played throughout school, and I was one of the prominent defenders for the school. I remember watching Baichung Bhutia play for JCT, I am Vijayan play, and I used to admire them, and I fell in love with Arsenal because the Invincibles were playing at the time. They were playing some of the most incredible football on the pitch that you will ever see in the history of football. What an absolutely stellar side that was. That's what made me fall in love with Arsenal. I think it was around the year 2000 when I really got hooked onto football hardcore, and it's been 22 years of fandom with the English Premier League and 5 years of a very, very proud association. I am the brand ambassador of the English Premier League, and that is a very, very proud thing for me.
Ranveer, you mentioned about falling in love with Arsenal. At a time they were on a real high, but with the highs come the lows as well. What has been the biggest heartache for you?
अब क्या बताएं, madam? Year after year, there's just something to come and hit you in the gut. It's there are several instances that I felt so deflated. I was so shattered at one point. I even considered divorcing Arsenal until my loyalty came in the way. And yes, loyalty is a virtue, a value that I think is very important in life. So once you pick a football club, it's like marriage, you know. It's like you only do it once, and you don't ever think you're going to change or jump ship. But I did cross my mind. That's how low I got at one point about Arsenal Football Club and their fortunes in the Premier League. It's a good season, and I think the prospects of Arsenal achieving top four European football, Champions League football is very, very much on.
Ranveer, you are now in the UK this weekend. You are going to be watching a few matches. Tell us, what does your role as the Premier League brand ambassador in India entail?
Well, it is a function of promoting football as a sport, football culture, English football, and also one of the best aspects about this is the cross-pollination of activity. You know, it's really a way of exchanging culture and popularizing the sport of football. Because I think what sport teaches young people, I think, about life, I don't think there are very many other things in the world that can give you those life lessons. So I'm all for promoting sporting culture.
Ranveer, you are the brand ambassador of a league that has many, many more fans in India than, than the players that play the sport. I'm talking about the football, sport of football now. As a brand ambassador, how are you involved in changing that equation, putting more boys and girls out to the park?
The ISL and the Premier League work together, to build and expand and promote football culture. Everybody involved in promoting footballing culture in India is looking at a 20-year window. I think in the next 20 years, you will really start seeing more and more individual players, perhaps coming out of India, playing in the English Premier League and vice versa. I think what the Premier League and the ISL do together is a very positive thing for promoting sports culture amongst the youth.
Ranveer, I know that you are a Premier League fan, you're also an Arsenal fan, but I have to ask you, how big a push has it been for the league and kick for its fans with Cristiano Ronaldo returning to the Premier League? Now he's become the highest goal scorer ever in football's history.
Well, Cristiano's the GOAT, man. And, there's always this conversation, is it Messi, is it Ronaldo? There's never really one greatest of all time. There's always, I believe, a GOAT conversation. So he is obviously in the conversation. He is an absolute legend, a champion of the sport. The kind of elation, the kind of euphoria, the kind of emotion that man is able to evoke out of the Manchester United fan base. It's even though I'm an Arsenal fan, you've got to love that. I love football first, and then the league, and then my team. So it's, as a football fan, there's no way you can't love that what happened. He came back and he's still doing it for the club that loves and reveres him in the way that they do.
Okay, let me pin you down on that note on the GOAT conversation. Cristiano or Messi for you? Who's the greatest?
I don't think there's anything to choose between them.
That's diplomatic. That's being diplomatic.
About this, are inclined to say Lionel Messi, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that or agree to it. Like I mentioned, I think there is no one greatest of all time. There's always a greatest of all time conversation, and these two are in the conversation. And I think it's a huge privilege for me and this entire generation to have witnessed, their entire career from its very start.
Ranveer, let me ask you one final question. What is the biggest Arsenal moment that you are waiting for?
An Arsenal home win that I'm waiting for? Arsenal Leicester and Arsenal Liverpool this week at the Emirates. I'm going to watch live. So yes, these two, if we can bag them, then top 4 Champions League, here we come.
Of course, that's the biggest dream for any football fan, their team reaching the Champions League in the season. Ranveer, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. Hope your aspiration aligns with the push from the football ecosystem to put more Indian youth out in the Premier League market.